Hi, guys. My name is Natalie Martin, and the person that I interviewed is one of my best friends, and she is currently my roommate, and her name's Alex McKissick. Um, we were Pi Phis together, and so we met our freshman year during recruitment, and we become very good friends, and it was easy to interview her because she lives right next door to me. So, Alex is from Toronto, Canada. She lived in a neighborhood very close to downtown. Um, she lived there for 18 years. She was born and raised there, and then she came to Oklahoma State her freshman year of college. So, as I was interviewing her and asking her the differences, um, between how she played and, what she did when she was growing up and who she played with, how she played, all the different things, I learned that our cultures were very similar yet very different. She grew up in a very liberal, um, culture and community, and I grew up in a very conservative, part of the world. So that was something that I found very different, but how we played and our structure of play was very similar. Um, we both played in groups. We both played, you know, with a lot of different people, and but there were some major differences. And one of the major differences was the geographical aspect of play. Um, I grew up on 3 acres of land, so whenever I wanted to play, I would go out in my backyard, and I would always play in my backyard. I have three sisters and a brother, and so I would always play with my siblings. And there was a creek behind our house, so we would go play in the creek. We would run around our neighborhood, and our neighborhood, we had a bunch of different kids living in it. And so, we would always get the neighborhood kids, and we would run around our yard, and I would go play in their backyards. And so we were always playing outside, but we were always, in our neighborhood, and we wouldn't have to go somewhere to play outside because we had so much land around us. And when I was talking to Alex, she told me that um, the houses are very close together because, it's a very populated area. So all the homes are very close together, and there's very little front yard and very little backyard. So they wouldn't really go out there. They wouldn't really go play out in the backyard. They would either play inside, or they would go to a park, or, go to the beach. She lived very close to a great lake. And there was a beach. So she would play next to the lake. So that was one thing that I learned was a huge difference. And, the lake that she lived near was, a beautiful, clear lake with a really pretty, beach and a boardwalk. And, the lakes that I experienced were, dirty and brown and, small, and like there was no beach, and you wouldn't go walk along the beach because it was very dirty. So, learning the different things about her culture and my culture, it was very interesting. And, I learned a lot of things about her through this project because I would never have, asked about how she played as a child, or, what toys that she played with as a child. Those are just things that you don't really talk about or ask someone. But there were some very big differences. So, one major political event that happened in Toronto was that Alex remembers, happening, was the G20 summit, and it was held in Toronto in 2010. It was the fourth meeting of the G20 heads of government to discuss the global financial system and the world economy. So this was very impactful because it shut down the whole city because of the protests. So there were people protesting this, the G20 summit. And so, it was she said that it was kind of scary because they shut down the whole town, and there was all this security because all these people were protesting, and it was not a very good thing. And so there were very many different reasons for people to protest, but some of the reasons were, poverty and anti-capitalism. So she just remembers the whole city being shut down, and she couldn't really get around anywhere. But some differences that I learned about how she would play as a child would be, the main thing being the geographical differences. But, another thing that I learned was that, when she was little, her mom would dress her in gender neutral clothing. And I found that very different because I have never heard of someone doing that. Because I've, been in Oklahoma, and everyone, if it's a girl, everything's pink, and if it's a boy, everything's blue. And she's from a very liberal area. And so people would dress their children in gender neutral clothing, and so that they wouldn't be, forcing them to be, if they were born a girl, they wouldn't force them to want to wear pink or dress like a girl. And so I just, thought that was very different than what I've, been accustomed to or used to. And, that is just something so different. But, she basically played with the same toys that I played with. She played with dolls. She played with stuffed animals. She played house. She did all those things, which I did those things too. I played, with American Girl dolls. I played with any sort of Beanie Baby. I played with, I played house. I played teacher. I did all those things. And she pretty much did as well. So there weren't too many differences on, how she would play or who she would play with. She played with her sister, and she played, with a bunch of different friends. I have 3 sisters and a brother, so I played with, my siblings and all the neighborhood kids as well. So I asked her if her teachers encouraged her play, if her parents encouraged play, and she said yes. And they valued play. So her teachers encouraged her to play, with lots of different people on the playground. Her parents encouraged her to invite different people over or have slumber parties with different people. And that is something that was encouraged in, my growing up as well. So I definitely had slumber parties. I, was encouraged to play with a multitude of people, hang out with this person, hang out with that person, always be in groups. And something I found very interesting was that when I was reading one of the articles that we're supposed to be reading for the class in the one about Africa, it was saying how the children in Africa play alone, and if they play, near their parent or with someone, they're considered odd, and they're the weird one. But in America, if you play by yourself, you're considered odd, and if you're not in a group and you're not socializing with other people, you're weird. So I thought that was the complete opposite of how I grew up. And I asked Alex, I was like, did you guys play alone or did you play in groups? And she said we played in groups. So, that was something similar. And I guess, Canada is very, the culture is very similar to America, but it's not that similar to Oklahoma because Oklahoma is very conservative and Canada is very liberal. So there's definitely, some major differences there, but you definitely would not know that if you were to just meet her. She does not act like she is from another country. So, basically the main things that I took away from this interview were that, yes, we are from very different spectrums, but we're still very alike. They may have not done things the same way that we did things in Oklahoma, but we definitely played in groups. We played with dolls, we played with all these different things that were very similar. And, you know, the culture in Canada is not that much different. So I really didn't see that many differences. But one thing I also found interesting was that, in America, everything is set, such gender based. You go down the aisles of Walmart or Toys R Us and you see the girls section, and it's ironing boards, dolls, dress up, playing house, all these domestic things. And it's basically, getting girls into thinking, okay, this is what I like. This is my pathway into life. And then you see the boys section, and it's like building things, and it's Legos, and it's cars, and it's fire trucks, and it's, kind of those more manly things. And so it's very different because today's society is definitely shifting, where women are not the main, women are still, considered the stay at home, mom or whatever. But, it's shifting because there's more women in the workplace. That's a bigger, push of, okay, women are not just meant to stay at home and iron clothes. We also can go out in the workforce and, be very successful and powerful. So, I think that is definitely going to switch, as time goes on. That is definitely going to change. And I asked Alex if that was the same as when, she was growing up, and she said yes, that it was still like that. And she still played with those dolls, and she still played house, and she still did those things, even though she was in a more liberal community. So I think that is very, different, but I think eventually that will start to evolve and change, and, it won't just be women are the domestic people, they stay home, and the men are the builders and the workers. It's going to change. So I think that was something that I found very interesting. But so when I was looking at the different play theories and the different play functions, there, some things that we did were normative customs. So we would pretend to play house, we would play with the dolls, we would have pretend families, we would act out like this person's the mom, my friend's the dad, and then this person's the kid, and we would play house, and we would do all these things. And then another one that we did was political function. We played hide and seek all the time, always. We would always play hide and seek. We would play it inside, outside, with, one other person or with 10 other people. We were playing hide and seek. We were doing these things. We also did economic functions. We definitely climbed trees. We played outside. We went on rope swings, the trapeze. We were jumping on trampolines. We did all that stuff. Anything you can think of outdoors, we did. So, as I was going through the different play functions, I basically did all of those things. Alex did not do as many things outside as I did because of her geographic differences. But, she definitely played hide and seek and played with other kids. But, being from such different areas, and we had so much more land growing up, you could do these things outside, and she didn't have that opportunity. But I definitely think that this was a great experience, getting to learn about her, past, and how she grew up, and how she was, how she learned how to do different things and like how she played differently. I definitely think that this was, you know, a very knowledgeable experience, and I think that, you know, this was cool to see. Okay, yeah, we grew up in very different areas, and you know, but we had very similar play experiences. But then sometimes we'd have very different play experiences. So I think that, you know, getting to experience this and interviewing her and seeing those differences, I think that that was very good, and I was glad that I got to learn the information that I did. Thank you.